Welcome to Snowmobile Sessions Live on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. It's the #1 destination to learn about snowmobiling, network with other sledders, and have an awesome time doing it. We'll meet other snowmobilers that share your passion and show your fan photos along the way. Snowmobile Sessions Live. Enjoy the ride.
This episode of Snowmobile Sessions Live is brought to you by Energy Powersports. They're Oakville's full-line BRP dealer with sales and service to all BRP models and so much more. Energy Powersports always has the fun in store with a wide selection of clothing, parts, and accessories for all your powersports passions. Make Energy Powersports your source for Can-Am off-road, ATV, and side-by-sides. Can-Am on-road Ryker and Spyder, including the sporty F3S, Sea-Doo watercraft, and Switch pontoon boats, and Alumacraft fishing boats powered by Mercury Marine. Put yourself on a Manitou pontoon or a Widescape stand-up snowmobile. Energy Powersports is the home for Lynx and Ski-Doo snowmobiles for the entire family. Do you feel the energy? Energy Powersports, 879 Cranberry Court, Oakville, Ontario, or online, energypowersports.ca.
Oh gosh.
All right, we have Mike Ashby with us today. In both places.
Hey, you forgot
from Ultimax by Timken. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, very
This
well.
is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. How did we do that? How did we get that hat to morph in between us both?
That's when I said to you off camera, I have a surprise for you, and that's it. Because I think it's the identical hat. I'm not completely sure.
Is it a Ski-Doo hat?
Ski-Doo hat.
Ski-Doo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is yours
Same
an X
thing.
team on the back? What's yours say on the back?
Performance NC.
Oh, yeah. See, mine's Ski-Doo X team. But
Well,
the exact hat. You know, oh, yours is leather. Mine's not leather.
Yeah.
Oh, you got the good hat. Yeah. My wife wanted to throw my hat out the other day, and I was like, no, don't throw that one out. She was putting the Christmas decorations away and wanted to toss it. And I said, no. And then it was laying out. So I thought I've got a good use for that for the Ultimax video. Yeah.
Somebody must have given it to you. I'm pretty sure I've had it for a long time. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm happy you come on board. You were involved in the background and with the Pete from Redneck Sturdy Hands podcast we did and had a good time. And I said, I got to get you on the show. So thank you for coming on tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. and really exactly the way Pete described it in terms of our first meeting is exactly how it happened. I was, leading up to it, I subscribed and I'm watching this stuff and it's really, really great. And I'm going, I got to figure a way to meet this guy. And I'm not a big social media guy. The guys at Timken are probably laughing right now at me, but so I'm not on Facebook or any of this stuff, but I'm watching the videos and I'm going, wait a second, outside and seeing his property and so on, and I realize there's a fire engine in the front of his property by the pond, and I'm going, wait a minute, I know where this guy is. So off I go to Heydays. And, that was wonderful. Great experience being there. And on the way back, saying to myself, you know what? I've got the trailer you see in the background here, loaded up and everything else. So I'm going to, by chance, and exactly the way he described it, I pulled in the driveway. He has two houses on his property. His parents are on the back one. And I pull up there and out he comes from the laneway with this kind of little bit of a perplexed look on his face. Like, what's this all about? And I hop out and the rest is really history. It's been fantastic. He's a terrific guy.
Yeah, you know what? He's so modest, and I mean, I don't think he's thought about what he can do with the channel, and it's so funny because he's just rolling with the punches, literally, right? And then you see him at events like you had him at the Snowcross race this weekend, and he's just Pete, like.
He is, and the thing is, and he, I don't know if he's tuning in or he'll see this later, but I tell him, Pete, you're a celebrity.
Yeah.
So, and he is at the Toronto Snowmobile show, at the Peterborough show, all of that, it's just wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. So Corey Jinks says he needs a new belt. He's a size 32 waist. Can you help him out?
Hey, you know what, Corey? It's hilarious, and people know this. The only thing I know about belts really is you don't wear a brown belt with white pants. So I'm not sure if I can help you out with that.
Those belts, but you know a lot about these belts that we're talking about today. All Terrain TV just put a new Ultimax belt on his sled, and there's another guy, Nathan, says he's got 2 Ultimax belts he's bought for both his skidoos this year. So that's
awesome.
pretty
Thank
cool.
you, Nathan. Appreciate the support. Yeah, that would have been our XS 821, which is pretty well the #1 selling belt around the globe, actually, for sure.
Is that right? That's cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been with Ultimax?
So I've been with Ultimax 3 years. I've been in the, and I'm going to end up dating myself. I've been in the power transmission industry for, well, let's just say a real long time, for sure. But you know what? It's been an incredible 3-year journey, with Timken Ultimax. I have to pinch myself, every day. The folks here at Ultimax are amazing. The leadership is phenomenal. There's 2 other guys like me, that represent Powersports in Canada. There's a number in the U.S. All of them are motorsport guys, snowmobilers. You can see in the background, those 2 sleds that you see there are Timken mules, so to speak, test machines. We ride, we talk about that stuff. We do an awful lot of testing in our facility down in Springfield, Missouri. That's where our belts are made. We develop all the raw materials and manufacture those belts down there. And it's funny, I talk an awful lot about the folks in Springfield. They are craftspersons, I guess is the politically correct word to use, because a belt, although people may not know this, is not very highly mechanized. There's an awful lot of hands, that are on that belt. And those folks do one heck of a great job. I'm not sure if I lost you, Gary, or where you ended up going. Well, I'm not sure if the audience can hear me or see me, but I think my host ended up exiting for a minute or two. And I can't see the chat either, if anybody's saying anything in the chat either. So maybe we'll give it a few minutes and see if either I come back or Gary comes back, whichever one you guys can see. Just got a note from Gary. His internet's down, so I'm not sure. I think I might be flying solo, and I can't see the chat. So I would be really interested to answer some questions, but I certainly can't for the moment.
Hey, we're back.
Oh, we're back. There we go.
I told you it happens.
It happens.
My internet just totally went away.
Well, it's back again.
Yeah, we're back in full force.
Yeah. So left off by just talking a little bit about the men and women that actually assemble our belts down in Springfield. Good group.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. And then what makes Ultimax belts more superior than anything else out there?
Well, first of all, they're not a one size fits all. They're definitely application specific. The question I get the most is, what's different about Ultimax versus the OEM belt that's on my machine. And really, it boils down to construction. On today's machines, and for quite some time, there's one manufacturer that supplies their belts to right now, all four manufacturers at Snowmobile, soon, unfortunately, and sadly, to be three. But that particular belt is made of a neoprene material, neoprene rubber, whereas the Ultimax belt is made of synthetic rubber. So to draw an analogy, and it's one I quite often use, you've got, conventional motor oil, that's the standard fill in pretty well all the vehicles that you purchase, versus synthetic motor oil. Conventional motor oil, it'll do the job, it's got a narrow bandwidth, but it'll definitely do the job. Whereas synthetic motor oil, a much wider bandwidth, flows better at cold temperatures, operates better at high temperatures. And really, that's the fundamental difference between the two. So our belt is, let's call it synthetic type motor oil performance. We work very, very hard. Our belt is targeted specifically, for the aftermarket. We work with all OEMs. We take the design and so forth of that OEM belt, and we work hard to tweak it here and there to make sure that you're going to get maximum performance, longevity, definitely seat of the pants dyno feeling on it. And that's really what it boils down to. And say, I don't know, was that 30 words or less?
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be 30 words. I'm not the teacher here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
sure.
Cool. We should address the elephant in the room, or the pickleball players in the room, just so people at home
that's for sure.
Understand what's going on.
Yeah, like for your audience of viewers, I'm actually in Lindsay, Ontario, if anyone's familiar with that area. And this is where just this past weekend, the CSRA Snowcross event was being held, and it's going to be held again this coming weekend. And I said, this might be a good spot, to have this podcast. You get to see our event trailer in the background and our vehicles. I think you can see the ATV as well. And when Ken Van and I talked about it, he's the owner of CSRA. We have the building for the entire week. That was great. And then when we checked with the landlord, maybe I misunderstood. He said there was a pickleball tournament going on, but I thought he said it was, through the day today, and maybe it has been. But certainly when I got here, surprise, surprise. And, they're pretty intense going on over there. I've never played the game, but so I apologize for that noise in the background, but I think we can get through it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Couple of questions here. A comment from Acceleration Racing. We tested a stock belt against an Ultimax XS on back-to-back runs with one of our racing sidewinders. The Ultimax slipped less and accelerated harder. Why would that be?
Oh, certainly. One of the reasons for that, and I'll try to keep it as brief and as less technical as possible. But one of the challenges any belt manufacturer has in a CVT belt is two main factors. One is, from a tensile standpoint, the belt has to be very, very strong. And in most cases, even the OE belts, they've kind of got that mastered. They either use Aramid or Kevlar. They're just brand names. So from a tensile strength standpoint, they're pretty strong. And anybody that's having a challenge with a belt stretching, they've got a problem, because belts don't stretch. They wear in width, but they shouldn't stretch. If they are stretching, you got a problem. And herein lies the problem when you get into these high horsepower machines, and something that we at Ultimax has been focusing on for a long period of time. And that is the squeeze factor. So when you consider, you've got a belt here, and hopefully we're going to be able to see this. All right.
Yeah, hold her
We've
right
got
up.
a belt that is being
hold her right to your camera.
Make them bigger too.
Oh, and I can make you bigger too. Hold on. That's good.
Okay.
Boom.
So we can see now, and I'll try to hold myself steady. We've got forces going at approximately 13-degree angle, being squeezed, right? They're being squeezed with a standard everyday primary clutch and secondary clutch, that's 700 pounds of force. All right. That's stock. Anytime you add any clutch kit type thing to your machine, all of a sudden that 700 pounds of force can double and triple just like that. Now imagine, so you've got 13-degree force here and here. The tendency then would be for the belt in the center to cup inward. And what's happening when you squeeze, especially on those sidewinders and the high horsepower stuff that's out there, that belt under squeeze will start to cup. Once it cups, the angles where it interfaces with the clutch go away. Then you start to have that slipping happen. People quite ask me all the time, how can I tell, besides the obvious, which is far too late, when is my belt reaching its fatigue life? Because the idea of trying to figure out how many kilometers, or for our US viewers, miles you can put on a belt, there's so many variables and complexities to try to draw a number to that. What I say to them is that you hold that belt up, and I'm going to try to do this now sideways just to give. So you're going to hold that belt up. You're going to look up across the top of the belt, find a level horizon in behind you, and if that belt is starting to cup, and the naked eye can detect about 20 thousandths of an inch or so cup, then that belt, because imagine now, this is at rest. It doesn't have those forces applied to it. So imagine how much it's cupping with those forces applied to it. That belt has reached its fatigue life. Because what's happening then, as you can see this cord line here, the whole idea is that cord line has to remain absolutely straight like you see right now, embedded and straight. You can imagine if this cord line starts to cup, all right, these cords on the outside are similar to if you're in a tug of war and a couple of people let go of the rope, the rest of you have to take the load. That's what's happening, okay? And so that's when a belt will start to stretch in its overall circumference. That's when a belt will not interface correctly with the primary and secondary sheaves. More heat develops because a CVT, I describe it as a self-destructing heat machine. By virtue of a friction drive, there's going to be heat, and that heat will continue to increase and increase, and now you're going straight downhill in terms of your performance. So at Ultimax, we work very, very hard at the construction of this belt. As you can see, it's multi-layers, and I think we have a picture we sent to you, Gary, that might show that, but nonetheless, multi-layered. It's kind of like a sandwich effect, and everything has to be built correctly and remain stable. I think somebody
that makes sense.
Yeah.
If Nathan M says, what's the stretch wear on the Ultimax compared to other industry belts? Just wondering.
Okay, well, again, we're talking about our belts do not stretch unless they've reached fatigue. Our belts, like anybody's belt, wears in width. I don't like to use the word break in. I like to use the word run in. I like the word set. So as this belt is operating, it will interface with the sheaves, and you'll begin to get wear. So what people mistaken then is because of the wear that's going on in there, they think the belt is getting longer. If you're trying to sorry, Pete, or maybe, thank you, Pete. If you're trying to redneck measure this belt, that is extremely difficult, rather than, say, rolling it out on the table. And I could show that, but we just can't do it here. But if this belt is stretching in length, based on whatever rudimentary methodology you're going to use to measure it, it could be an inferior belt, or more importantly, we've got the cord line now cupping, and less cord is taking the load, okay? So the other thing that I'll mention, a lot of people call me up and say, hey, I just bought your belt and I measured the top, and it's narrower than, say, a 571 BRP belt. Well, it will be, because I sent you a diagram, but we chamfer off the edges of this belt. So in other words, if you run your finger along this belt, you won't get cut. If you run your finger over the top of a OEM belt or a competitor's belt, it is very, very sharp. All right. So measuring the top of the belt is not going to give you any indication of what you're looking for. And I get this call. In fact, I was talking to a clutch builder that was a bucket list of mine to talk to just this morning. He's in upper state New York. Some of you may know him. And we had a very good conversation about redneck measuring a belt versus how you should be measuring a belt and what dimension really matters on a snowmobile belt. Right. And in some
cases,
it's
like the side, as long as the side angles hold, that's more important, because that's more contact on the sheaves than a wider belt that has improper angles to it.
Yeah, the important thing is to make sure that you have the right belt for the right application. As I mentioned, our belts are application specific. You really got to understand it. For example, I was talking to a guy today, who, for whatever reason, and I think I know the reason, had the wrong belt, the wrong Ultimax belt for the application, which is puzzling, because on ultimaxbelts.com, we have a belt finder. We go back to 1962, and the applications are on there. And so as a result of that, I strongly recommend it to that individual that they get the right belt, right? Because they were wondering possibly if they were not getting the performance they needed to get from that belt, and they weren't. But yeah, it's all about CVTs are very complex. It's all about frictional forces. It's all about the interface of that belt, the correct angles. Race guys, drag racers, those kind of guys, they definitely cut different angles. We understand that. They understand that. But, the average guy, make sure you've got the right belt for the application. The other thing that we do, as I mentioned, we're in line with all of the OEMs. We look at their belts, we test their belts. We look for ways to tweak. It's still a good belt, but we look for ways to tweak that. And that may be, in fact, that we feel as though the contact angle would be better served perhaps maybe at 28 degrees than at 27. And that's through all the testing that we do, not only in our R&D facility, which is absolutely fantastic, on our mules that we got back here. And we definitely have an awful lot of stewards and people that we support that run our belts. And certainly the CSRA has been a huge proving ground and testing ground for us. And so is Eagle River.
Actually, Sled Tube has a good question here. If you ride like Gary, do you need an Ultimax, or is a sticker good enough? And he also wants to know if there's any update on who's winning pickleball. Could you get an update for him, please? Actually, there's a couple of serious questions in here.
That's a serious question from Redneck's Dirty Hands.
Redneck's Dirty Hands. Where's the beers? Did you sleep there, Mike? LOL.
Hey, Pete. Well,
Pete's wondering, said that Christina didn't come home yet. So
cheers, Pete.
Well, there's a 2024 Denali HD. Maybe she's sleeping in there and figuring a way to, once I open the door, to peel away. The key's in it, so it's in here as well.
Denon Oosterman says 2 questions. What is the best belt to run in? Set a belt. What is the best way to run in or set a belt? Just easy, take it easy for 50 miles. Can you give us your insight on that? And he had another question about question 2. Why does the XS821 need clutching changes on the Do 850? It's a popular belt, but he can't seem to make it work with stock clutching. What do you say to that?
Those are 2 really good questions. And I'll start with the run-in, or a lot of people term it break-in. And it's real simple. The way I try to convey it is we're looking for 3 heat cycles. And the importance of a heat cycle, or at least 3 heat cycles in this belt, is keep in mind now this belt is made under compression. It's made hot. It's ground. It's ready to go. And then it's at rest. Now it gets into an application. Okay. And now the most important thing that you want to do, and there's a number of ways to do it. You can either do it on a stand. You can do it driving the vehicle through snow, which in this right where I am right now is pretty problematic to find. What you're wanting to do is you're wanting to put heat across this cord line. So if you've got snow, first thing you do is you put this belt on, and Gary showed in a video how to do that. You do not roll the belt over the secondary, anything like that. Put that belt on, by separating the secondary, so forth. Put that belt on. Raise the sled up. Limber everything up. The track, the belt, everything. Then set your belt deflection. And depending on the vehicle you've got, like for Arctic Cat 2018 and above, they've got a one-way bearing on them. You can run the belt tight. The P22 clutch in the Boost and in the 9R, it's got a one-way bearing in it. You can run the belt tight. Pretty well everything else, snow-wise, you've got to run belt deflection. Set your belt deflection. Belt deflection should be set at the threshold of track creep. The idea of looking above the secondary and trying to figure out how far above the top cogs are of the secondary and hoping that's done it is more of a marketing ploy. You need to have that belt deflection at the point of track creep, at that threshold. So what I mean by that is if you started that machine up, you limbered it up, and now it's idling, and the track is rolling at any rate, faster is even worse, but if it's rolling, that's track creep. You don't want to have that. So you need to adjust it such that if you were to reach down safely while the machine is running on a stand and just put your finger on a lug of the track and just give it a little pressure, and that track might creep 3 to maybe 6 to 9 inches and stop again, that's perfect. But if it keeps going, that's creeping, isn't it? And what you're doing if you got track creep is the shiv to belt clearance should be fine if you haven't played with it. But what you're doing now is you're having that belt rubbing up against the primary clutch shaft. Now we have material on the back of this belt. Not everyone does. That material does act like a lubricant, like a handrail on an escalator, but you don't want that happening. You don't want it that it's actually driving the track by virtue of the pressure of the inside of the belt on the shaft. So set that track creep. Now you're ready to put those 3 heat cycles through it. If you have snow, you're going to go out onto the trail, and what you want to do is you want to bring that belt up, all the way up the primary and all the way down the secondary, not like it's a race. I'm talking about over, say, 3 to 5 kilometers. You bring it up and you bring it back down at the same rate you brought it up. So another, say, 3 to 5 kilometers. Do that 3 times. And then once you've done that, do not stop the sled. Do a cool down lap. In other words, make sure that now you've got the heat through there, that you're still running just like an Indy car does after a race and whatnot. You're getting that heat to stabilize itself. Once that's done, stop, recheck your belt deflection. Hopefully you got somebody that can help you lift the sled up or something like that, or go back. And again, see if you no track creep, you're at the threshold, all the rest of that. And now you're good to go. Same principle would apply if you don't have snow. Like, for instance, a lot of asphalt drag racers and so on, obviously, they don't go thundering down the street with these things. They do the same type of thing. You do not put this belt in the oven. You don't wash the belt. You talk nice to it, but the mold release that we use does not require that it be washed. Certainly putting it in the oven, I don't mean any disrespect to any backyard cooks or anything out there, you cannot have any idea on what temperature or what's happening to the inside of this belt when you've got it in the oven. And if you go too far, you're going to have quite a cleanup job in your oven. So don't do any of that kind of stuff. And just while we're on that, sort of the don't do's, might as well go over them now. Do not use brake clean. Do not put any brake clean on this. Do not use any brake clean on your sheaves. And if you do, you want to make sure, and people say, well, you know, the brake clean will dry. Well, yeah, it will. But the solvent residue still remains and then is activated again by heat. So if you're choosing to want to use brake clean, don't get it on the belt. Get it off those sheaves. And the way I do it, if I were going to do it, which I don't, but if I were, I would use a baby wipe because, you know, that's safe enough to use on a baby's bottom. It's going to be safe enough on this, because what would happen if brake clean gets onto here, it attacks the cord line and the adhesive that's holding that cord. And a lot of times when we see belts, well, not quite this one, but when we see belts, we see belts come in for warranty with cord ripped out. 9 times out of 10, there's evidence of solvent that's been embedded in this cord. So the other thing is, hey, folks out there, we can all bend our finger this way, right? No problem. Try back bending our finger. Doesn't feel too good, does it? This belt is designed to bend this way. It is not designed to bend this way. And guys are saying out there, well, hey, listen, you know, Skidoo, they want you to mount it on the clutch cover and back bend it. Polaris, they want you to wad it up into some kind of weird looking sausage and throw it into this little square thing, and so forth and so on. If you're intending to use this belt or any belt that you have wadded up and put a backwards bend on, that belt is good from going to here to get you home on a failure. That's it, right? Do not back bend these belts. It's certainly a no-no, right? And
yeah, you told me to put it in my bag, a rear bag, but I have an issue with that because everything I put in my rear bag ends up on the trail.
It ended up disappearing by the time we get to lunch. It's weird.
Well, you
Paradox.
You can use bungee cords. You can use 100-mile-an-hour tape. Hey, you know what? Go see Pete. He's a redneck guy. He'll figure out a way to make sure that bag stays on your sled.
That's right. It's the problem is nobody ever told me to zip the bag up. That's the issue.
It's okay. You can put
it in the bag, but they didn't ever say to. LaPointe says he'll pick them up. That's fine.
You can put it in my bag because I only lose gas cans. So
yeah,
completely different.
That's right.
Don't put it around your neck, though. That's for sure.
Mark Bowe had a comment up above there a while ago, and he said his 600's easy on belts. He'll never blow one. Why would someone switch with that thought in mind? Because a lot of people do think that. You know, I've never ever blown a belt. You know, Corey said it, I'll just stick with the one that came on my sled kind of thing. What do you say to that?
Well, there's quite a few things there. And I mean, yeah, to each his own in terms of that type of thing. But certainly seat of the pants will tell you with our belt on there that you're going to get better performance from a perspective of acceleration and backshift for sure. Secondly, should something unfortunately happen with that OEM belt and it fails within a year, there's no warranty, right? We offer a 1-year warranty on that belt. I get this question, and you know, to each his own, but the majority of the people that buy these machines, whether they're 600s, 650s, or so forth, are always looking, you know, for an edge to be the first guy across the lake, or just have the corner-to-corner grin factor. And certainly, we work really hard. It doesn't matter the displacement. We're not just focused on high horsepower stuff. On giving a good ride experience and performance with the belt.
This
is an amazing point.
Who in their right mind puts Goodyears back on their Ram because that's what it came with?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I get that, and it comes back again to, the OEMs are not bashing them at all, whether it's snowmobiles, ATVs, or vehicles. They put them on certain parts on the vehicle because they're intended for the type of use that center cut. It's when you get out beyond that bandwidth and you're demanding more performance, just like cars, better tires, all those kind of things. You start to look for that. But back further, the question was about the 821, and I hear this quite a bit. Why do I have to perhaps, clicker up or make a change to my clutching, to perhaps get the RPM I'm looking for? And that's usually what it is in the past, guys would be putting 821s on, and instead of getting 7,900 or 8,000, which is usually what the E-Tech 800s or 850s or even the 600s are running at, they're getting a little less RPM, and that's true. And certainly, us at Ultimax recognize that and have worked very, very hard to correct that, and we have. Back in April of last year, and Timken Ultimax, we haven't really done a great job of tooting our own horn, but we've made a change. We've made and no, we have not changed the compound and all these other misinformations I've been reading on the internet. We've
Backyard engineers.
Yeah,
They're graduates from the School of Backyard Engineering. You get that
for
a lot,
sure,
right?
For sure. And what we've done, and Gary, you have two of those belts now. We've made a change. We've made a change to the top side cog, right? And most people think that this cog here, think that that's there for cooling, and that is incorrect. That cog is there as a buttress to give cross-sectional strength. And what we've done is we've gone from this profile, which is smaller, closer together pitch, to this.
Oh, wow.
And what that's done...
Let me make that bigger if you want to show that again.
Yeah. And actually, I sent you a picture of it as well, but you
do. Yep.
I'm trying to figure this out, but
nonetheless, would stock belt be closer to the top one there?
Well, the stock belt would look similar to this. Now, however, again, it's in the pitch and it's in the material on what makes this strong. So just visually looking at it, you might say, okay, well, bigger is better, and that could be true. But it's also compounded with the pitch and the material and a bunch of other pieces of formula that come together. And where I'm going with this is we've done a lot of lab rat testing, and then we've got real world testing. And I've also sent you a photograph of the Turbo R on the dyno. This belt, this 821 belt, based on our testing, taking a 571 off, stock clutching, nothing changed, heat cycles, all the rest of that, same trail conditions, everything else. This belt picked up RPM.
There's Gord McDonald. New XS 821 does not lower RPM on the 850 comp, period. It just makes you faster.
Hey, Gord. Hi, Gord. Yeah.
I noticed when I put my belt on, I didn't have to set deflection. It was exactly the way stock was.
Yeah, and, we definitely, try to make them drop in, so to speak. Now, keep in mind, if you've had a belt on there for a while and it's, it will wear in width, and you've made, that minute adjustment to keep your belt deflection, because it's very critical to have the right belt deflection. Obviously, no matter whose belt you decide to put back on there, you're probably going to have to make an adjustment, but you don't have to make too much adjustment, whatever secondary you have. Some are much easier to adjust in others. But yeah, we're pretty well, for lack of a better word, drop in, but again, just don't take that for granted. It's important. If you don't know how to do it, find somebody that does. Make sure that belt deflection is set correct, and you're checking it regularly.
Yeah, that's good. Tim V says, you mentioned a 13-degree angle. Is that the angle on all belts?
No, that's not on the belt. That's actually on the sheaves. Try to get this
of
straight.
The clutch. Yeah.
Of the clutch. Belts range from, and that angle ranges on sheaves as well. Typically, you've got anywhere between, I'll say 26 to 28 degrees or so on the belt. Again, there's a lot of complexities to these angles, and then there are setups where the angle from, and we'll talk on the primary, the angle on the bottom part of the primary could start off at a lesser degree or 13, but wind up a little wider. And the idea there is, obviously, when the machine now is at momentum, you're at top speed. So the belt is all the way up the top of the secondary and all the way down on the, or all the way up on the primary, sorry, and all the way down on the secondary. You may not need as much grip, so to speak, on the primary, because the primary reacts to RPM. The secondary reacts to torque. So it's really important that the adhesion, the grip, be set correctly, the spring rate, the helix angles, a bunch of different things on the secondary, because it's reacting to torque, okay? And you will, no matter what, by virtue of the way the belt is knurling around the sheaves, you're going to get slip. They will never, ever, the sheaves will never, ever be in complete compliance with the belt. It's a friction drive, right? That's why you've got to have a belt that's designed with a bigger bandwidth synthetic, where we can engineer its ability to withstand the type of temperatures that this belt is going to see and maintain RPM, won't pull it down on you.
Yeah. So if anyone's in the chat there or watching, the next question I'm going to ask, you're going to probably want to take a pee break right now and grab yourself more popcorn or beer or whatever you need. Because here is the question that Mike loves. Who manufactures the OEM belts? I really doubt if Polaris or Cat have their own belt factories. Go.
They don't. So there's one manufacturer manufactures the belt for all of them. And the easiest way to tell this is you go look at your OEM belt, whether it's a Polaris belt, a BRP, Textron or Yamaha. There will be a triangle on the belt with 3 stars. That is MBL, Mitsubishi's corporate logo. Now, I hope Timken lawyers are okay with that, but that's a fact. That's a fact, because the OEMs see us, see Timken, see Ultimax as a competitor. We play in the aftermarket just like they do, right? The difference is we are laser focused in the aftermarket. We are absolutely building a better mousetrap. Now, I will say this, irrespective of what belt you have, a belt is not a cure-all for an ailing CVT. Okay, so you've got to make sure that all the components that are not only in the CVT, but are related to the CVT, especially motor mounts, bearing, jackshaft bearings, bushings in the clutch, in the secondary, are in serviceable condition, right? Because I get this a lot, and I've, gone and inspected an awful lot of failures, and I try to be as respectful as I possibly can. But again, Pete, I do the redneck deal. I grab a pry bar and I pry up on the engine, and that engine is, moving up and down throughout the stratosphere. So you can imagine the center distances are now collapsing in on each other under load. So we go back to my finger. We can bend it this way, can't we? Now, twist your finger and try to bend it. So if you've got a misaligned secondary and primary because of some type of component that is not correctly working, and this belt now begins to flex like this, right? You can imagine now what's going on with that cord line that I talked about that needs to be flat, needs to be curling nice, and all of a sudden, as it exits the primary and goes into the secondary, it's got to obviously align itself back into that sheave, and it's twisting and doing all kinds of weird things, all right? It is going to disintegrate this belt very, very quickly. Doesn't matter whose it is. And so, you know, we ask people out there, make sure that, you know, from time to time, and if you're not mechanically capable of doing it, make sure that you have your vehicle inspected, whether that's a snowmobile or, you know, an ATV, UTV, or a side-by-side. It's very, very critical.
Yeah, good info tonight, Mike. Thank you. Mark Bow Outdoors, what makes that belt whining sound when you come to a stop? Mine doesn't do it, but some sleds do. He says he's been watching videos, probably my Quebec video when we go down the mountain, and you hear, is that the belt? Is it something else?
Well, so if it's a, I'm not sure what you mean, and I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm not sure what your viewer means about whining. If there's any type of squealing noise that's going on, then that belt, the belt deflection is too tight. That's first and foremost. The other thing can be happening on deceleration. So back shifting, even at speed, even if you're not coming to a stop, but deceleration, then you definitely have something going, misaligning, either directionally or angularly in your CVT between your primary and your secondary, right? Because keep in mind, the principle still applies. The primary reacts to RPM, the secondary reacts to torque. You let off, so now we have absence of RPM. So now all of a sudden, this large secondary takes over the job, and it's literally throwing that belt into the primary, all right? And if we've got misalignment, we got another problem happening. That's the pop can effect. This belt will be doing this. And if you do this enough on a belt, I will guarantee you'll have a failure, and it'll look like somebody took an X-Acto knife and literally cut that belt in half. The cords may still be a little bit frayed, but it looks like an X-Acto knife cut it. That's a snub break. See that a lot on drag racing, because, you know, 500 feet, 660 feet or whatever, call it what you want, depending on the race. It could be 4 seconds to 7 seconds is over, and the guy lifts, right, at speed. The belt doesn't play nice to that. So I hope I answered that question, if that's what you mean by money.
No, you really did. I just want to say, Pete, Rednecks and Dirty Hands, thank you for joining us tonight in the chat. Your show is record-breaking. You're still continuing to make some epic improvements on my channel. Thank you so much again for joining us a couple weeks ago. And I listened to it in the car over the last, every time I go anywhere, and I laugh my ass off. So that definitely is a funny show. And Billy and Christina for joining in on that too. What a hoot! And I'm not done listening to it in the car yet. So pretty hilarious show. And you didn't get canceled from Ultimax, which is what, you know, we were worried about. So they love you. You just raised the bar for yourself, Pete. You know, Bam Custom says, I noticed a lot of motor deflection under load on his 900 turbo. Will this decrease his belt life, and would adding a brace be beneficial to belt life?
Adding a fourth motor mount would be, unless it's a 2024 and above. I can't. I know your viewers may be able to correct me, but certainly the Gen 5s. If it's a Gen 5, it should have 4 motor mounts, right?
Yeah, I think his is a Gen 4 from what I recall, because I met him on it.
Okay, so if it's a Gen 4, it's probably got 3 mounts, which is a no-no. But certainly adding some type of brace. I think it's a QR QRS or something. Skidoo calls it QRS brace or something like that. Because really, there's other factors are also happening on the jack shaft as well, because they're not mounted particularly well either. So you got a lot of forces happening there. So the better that you can and stand it in your hands, you don't want a lot of vibration and stuff like that. But the better that you can get things stable, especially under either acceleration or deceleration, the better off you're going to be for a number of reasons, not only for the belt, but you're going to get better performance.
Yeah, nice. Core Brock says, are belts made with carbon or Kevlar or what?
Well, and again, there's I got to be careful. There was these guys that came out quite a while back now with the carbon belt, and then there's another guys that have come out with it again. First of all, carbon black is an all rubber. Secondly, though, the stretch inhibitor, so to speak, the cord, and their brand names, they're Kevlar or they're Aramid. There could be a marketing ploy where they say that they're infused in carbon. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And the last major manufacturer that tried that kind of abandoned it, and they went to I think it's called a red line or something like that. I'm not completely sure, but again, belts, degree of belt is based on a lot of factors. Okay. And carbon, people have tried it, and I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that, because carbon black is in rubber, right? So really what you're looking for is, belts on lesser horsepower machines, they can definitely get away with a polyester cord in it. The other thing about cord, though, and I got this kind of neat little thing here, and somewhere in it, it should have, unless my cat got a hold of it, and maybe maybe she did.
When you say cat, you mean Pete from Redneck Dirty Hands.
Yeah, or Pete. Yeah, that's for sure.
Pete was using that as a beer koozie, I think.
Cord itself, and a lot of your viewers are probably not old enough to remember this. Firestone came out with a tire called a 721 way back, and really what that referred to is the way they were winding the cord, right? Just like a wind rope. In this case, you'll wind 7 strands over 21, and there's proprietary. And really, the way you do that in the cord enhances strength. Some folks seem to think that you can maybe infuse it in, I don't know, carbon or something. As I mentioned to you, tensile strength in most cases in tier 1 belt manufacturers isn't the problem when it comes to CVTs. It's squeeze, right? They'll all lift a house. I hope that's
right. Yeah, well, Redneck Dirty Hands says that it's not just a great belt; it's backed by great people.
For sure, he's absolutely correct. I'm so fortunate to be working with a tremendous crew right across Canada and in the United States. The culture at Timken is I've been in this industry a long time, and these guys are, if I'm correct, manufacturer number 6 for me, and I've only ever worked in manufacturing. The first thing that attracted me, to Timken, to Ultimax, is the culture. They're really a great group of folks, absolutely. And Pete has met quite a few of them.
That's
he
cool.
He just hasn't had to endure the likes of me.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple of things in the comments. Denon Oosterman said that the belt was 30% less than OEM. And then this guy's saying it's $12 more than OEM. What makes it worth it? Will my sled dangle more? Where does the price lie? Does it depend what belt you're comparing it to?
Well, it may be the country to which these individuals are coming from, because typically in Canada, we're roughly $50 less than the OEM. And if I'm correct, in the U.S., it's roughly the same. If that individual is from Europe with currency exchange, that could be the case. But if they are from North America, that's news to me.
Yeah.
That it's more than the OEM.
I thought they were a bit cheaper as well, but that's just, I'm just the frugal doer. Let me ask you a real serious question. How many belts did it take you to throw at the pickleballers to get them to leave?
Well, you know what? I think they just got tired of listening to me natter on. Right?
They're gone out to change their belts.
Almost en masse. They kind of looked over at me and then they're gone.
That's awesome.
I think if you fired up that XCR 650 behind you, I think they'd clear up pretty quick. Like once all the smoke gets that way, get a big industrial fan and just push it that way.
When we were talking about the belts and the other manufacturers and the carbon versus blah blah blah, someone said, "Is there one type of material that makes more dust than the others?"
Yeah. In my experience, neoprene can be a little dustier, but I come back again to the actual CVT. When you, irrespective of the belt, if you're getting a lot of belt dusting, I would start to look at the sheaves and make sure that, from time to time you clean them. Like take, for instance, a blue Scotch-Brite pad, because green is pretty evasive. None of them really will remove material unless you really go at it. But, take a blue Scotch-Brite pad and, clean up the sheaves. And make sure, the other thing about it, what I see in individuals that, are complaining about belt dusting, and you peel a few layers off of that kind of dirty onion, quite often a lot of them are running with a little too tight a belt deflection. And what's happening is, like I mentioned, the bottom part of the belt here is really interfacing with the rotating shaft of the primary. All right. And it's done that so much that with our belt, some of the others don't have that fabric at all on the back. It's worn the fabric into the rubber. All right. And so as a result of that, it's kind of put an hourglass into it. And that material has stuck itself, to the shaft. And then as rotating around, it's making a mess. So there's a lot of variables to it. Typically with the mold releases and the materials, especially that we're using, and I get this comment quite a bit, if it's correctly set up CVT, very, very little dusting, right? So a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of complexities, and you kind of got to manage those complexities as you look at things that look or feel abnormal.
Yeah. Now, if you watch the video that I put out the other day, it's called Make or Dangle. Thanks, Pete. When I was putting on, you automatically look for the directional arrow, and there isn't one on the Ultimax belts. Talk a bit about that. You can pull it out of the sleeve if you want.
I was going to kind of just show that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If I pull it out of the sleeve, it's easier to see.
He's got one right there.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, belts are not directional, but it's a good idea, to first of all put the belt on so that you can read the belt label, and then secondly, because then you'll remember, and then secondly to run it in that direction, because they'll get a sense of direction from the actual CVT itself. But I have done many tests, and irrespective if the belt has arrows on it or not, and put several miles on a belt and then turned it around, all right, but given it a fair chance by cleaning the sheaves and so forth, not with brake clean or any of that kind of stuff, and run the belt. Now the thing that you will find is a belt is telltale. All right, you will see wear marks or witness marks, right? And if you don't scuff up that belt a little bit, not crazy, and do run it backwards or even running it forward as well, you will have performance challenges in terms of grip. But yeah, we at Ultimax, we've talked about it and said, you know what, I think people can understand, put the belt on the way you can read it, and you're good to go.
Yeah, great. I think this is Joel. Joel, and thank you for joining us. That's a new name, but he's been consistent weekly in coming on the show. We really appreciate the guys like you, the new friends here in the shop. I've used 80 grit before. I think he's talking about on the faces of the clutch. Make it hook up, man. I ride front always. If an Ultimax will give me a slightly better edge, I'll try one. Slow in, fast out, learn to ride that brake.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I will. I know how. Yeah, I know how to do it. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Just ask me if I know how to.
They're going to leave you in the dark, brother.
No, I don't think he's going to do that. Hey, if you're using 80 grit, the challenge that you're going to have with that is certainly the belt is going to definitely wear in width pretty quick, right? But it'll definitely set in. Hey, if that's what's giving you the edge, don't tell your buddies that. Give it a go. I think the challenge that you'll have is it'll bite into the cord pretty good. But certainly as I mentioned, we grind the belt, and typically, you can run your thumb like so, and none of the cord is protruding out. But certainly I wouldn't recommend using sandpaper of any type, either on the belt or on the sheaves. I would stick with Scotch-Brite.
Scotch-Brite pads.
Absolutely, Scotch-Brite pad, and I think it's the blue. I think there's yellow, blue, and green. I typically stick to the blue. I did a seminar at the Edmonton Snowmobile show exactly on that, exactly on belt installation. I had a clutch set up. I've actually got it. I bet you can't see it, but
yeah.
I demonstrated, because obviously this system is not going to be put on anything. I demonstrated just how fast you can go in the wrong direction using sandpaper, because then you can't necessarily be even, for one thing, and then secondly, you are definitely grooving it like a record. Whereas Scotch-Brite, really what you're doing is you're just shining it up, right? That kind of stuff. So I just be no, I mean no disrespect to your viewer, but I'd be pretty careful with that one.
Yeah. I'm surprised Corey Jinks is singing the praises of brake clean, because Skidoo S1 clutch and pulley cleaner is the best stuff.
Well, no, I mean if you want to use that stuff, whatever you're using that's solvent based, just make sure that it's completely removed and not hiding in any crevices of either the primary or secondary, such that it gets on the belt, because it will attack the cord. The cord is porous. It'll absorb it very, very quickly, and that's what ends up starting to get the edge tear out. It's another reason why we've chamfered it, because from the cord line up, that's where the magic happens in terms of driving and grip. Rubber meets the road is cord line down. Cord line up is our buttress.
Yeah.
People might say, well, then you're not getting the interface to cool it. Well, certainly it'll radiate down and cool off. Yeah, these may help somewhat, doubt it though. But it's the fact that just don't get that solvent anywhere where it's going to get on the belt, right? But if you want to use solvent on your aluminum materials and so on, go ahead. Just make sure it gets cleaned off.
Yeah. So Jimmy's got two parts of this. How important is to break in a new belt? Oh yeah, and then Joel answered it for him. Give the new belt about 30 miles and it gets hammered. Last one to the bar buys the first round, suckers. I love that. But that's the thing. It is 32 kilometers or 20 miles is what the package says, right?
Yeah.
And 20 miles is 32 kilometers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, you 3 heat cycles, you're probably going to be around that distance. And, I tell this story, and if there are anybody, from Timken viewing in, they'll probably roll their eyes because it's going to be another Ashbyism and so forth, or they listen in afterward. The whole idea of run-in or break-in, as some people, want to term it. Look, when a baby's born, they know the baby's breathing, right? They whack the baby on the bottom to get everything moving, right? Make sure everything's functioning and it's all good to go. How I describe this is we want to whack this baby on the butt, okay? It's breathing right now, but we want to get the heat through it, get it back to life. And so however you want to do that, irrespective of what's on a label, and it works for you, I'm okay with it. Now, there are situations like, for example, if Gord's listening in, he'll know this because I told him this on his on the money train, and I forget, Gordy, you can correct me. I think we're using 816 on your machine, and Gord and I know Gord will be okay. I think me telling this story because Gord had some beliefs that weren't quite correct. I said, Gord, do me a favor, just put this belt on and go do 175 mile an hour, and he did. Right. And that belt is, as far as I know, still on that machine. But the reason why I told Gord that is, he's got some pretty extensive CVT on that machine. In other words, it's not overhung. It's fully suspended, right? And so forth and so on. So everything on that CVT is exactly perfect. So from that perspective, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, I know this industry more than any are very brand loyal. So I mean no disrespect to anybody and what machine they're running. Anything that comes out of the factory is not perfect. And in fact, in Edmonton, we proved that. We proved it on a manufacturer who will remain nameless right now, but quite literally the center distances. So this is being the secondary, this being the primary. The primary was out like this. All right. And for some miraculous reason, the manufacturer thought that under load, for some reason, it would all straighten out, which, okay. But anyhow, so that's another one of the reasons why we have to get these belts run in, get them set. Quite often you'll see, because the belts are telltale, unless obviously they end up like this. But even this, to the trained eye can see what's going on. But typically what you will see on any of them, with the exception of, STM clutches and stuff like that, there will be a different wear pattern on this side of the belt than there will be on this side. And there's a number of reasons for that. One, we got 2 fixed sheaves, 2 moving sheaves. And then we've got a motor whipping around everywhere and so forth and so on, right? So it's very, very important to, and then again, that's why I say, put it on the way you want to read it and put it back on there because it's going to set.
Right on. Do the belts have a warranty? And if so, what would it cover?
Our belts have an unconditional warranty. So for snow belts, it's an unconditional warranty for 1 year, irrespective of mileage. Really easy to claim. You just simply take a picture of the belt, even if it looks like this. Take a picture of your receipt, get onto our website, download it, pay a $15 shipping and handling type fee. And you get another belt, unconditional. So that's on Snowmobile. On ATV, we have 2 different platforms of belts. One carries a 2-year warranty, unconditional, and the other carries a 3-year warranty. Real easy to do. And by the way, our warranty return rate is less than 1% of our entire sales. So we're very, very confident that we're building the right kind of product, and you folks out there are doing the right things when you get that belt, to give it a standing chance.
Nice. And the like when you're talking about high horsepower, like the Mach Z had issues. I know when it first come out with the launch control, and now the new 850 Turbo R. Why does the Ultimax belt, become a better solution for those type of sleds that are really dramatic in the launch?
Yeah, so it comes back to what I talked about on the onset. From a tensile strength, they're all really, really good. Where we differentiate is the focus that we've been making not only on the tensile strength, but on the ability to withstand squeeze. Because you can well imagine with that launch control, you got your thumb into it, you're ready for that grin factor, and then boom. So you got a lot of RPM going, right? No torque. All of a sudden, this thing gets a ton of squeeze and a monstrous amount of torque, right? And so, again, from a tensile standpoint, pretty well all of them will take that. It's the ones, and particularly ours, that will take that squeeze the best. And we can back that up. We've done an awful lot of testing to prove that. And as I mentioned, with our new design that came out last year, that was one of our focuses there. That manufacturers are definitely trying to differentiate themselves and really get that grin factor. The challenge that I have, and I'm very fortunate to know people in the industry and have access, to a lot of snowmobiles. And the challenge that I've always had with that, no matter whether you got triggers or whatever, is getting the thing to hook up when you use that launch control. I think it's much better just to thumb it.
And what does it mean when you hear people say they glaze the belt?
Well, glazing the belt, again, we're talking about friction drive, right? So inherently, we're going to have friction. So friction creates heat, and it's going to start to build up a glaze. Certainly, neoprene belts glaze quite a bit. They get that green hue to them. Quite often, people see that as a green hue, that kind of thing. So it's important, like anything, these require maintenance. So the amount of travel you do, the amount of backshift, upshift, all those kind of things, periodically, pretty easy to get in there and have a peek. And if you see a lot of glazing on there, you want to remove that belt. You don't need to put it in the dishwasher or anything of that nature. Just again, take either a yellow, a blue. If you want to use green Scotch-Brite, be careful, and you're just going to remove that glaze. And then the best thing to do if you have access to compressed air is just blow the belt off. If you feel compelled that you want to wash it, hot water, not any hotter than your hand can withstand, just a very minute drop of dishwashing liquid, very minute. Swell it around, rinse it off, but most importantly, ensure that this belt is dry before you put it back on, because that's the time that you'll do more glazing than you ever had before if this belt is still damp. And you probably won't know it initially, but you've done worse than just leaving it alone.
Yeah, great answer. Joel, what belts are the 300 to 400 horsepower guys running? The insane turbo guys, shoot climbing. They definitely catch a buzz and have beers later.
Well, and you have some pictures there. You, for example, Money Train is 700 and some odd horsepower. Rob Lowe's machine is way north of that. All these guys with the sidewinders that are running, stage 1, 2, and 3, they all run our belt. The 825 on the sidewinder, 816 for most of the asphalt guys, 826s for the 9R out there, 821s. They're all running our belt. And again, the reason for this comes back to that analogy, right? You've got conventional motor oil versus synthetic. Our belt will take the type of heat that these chute runners and these kind of guys are putting on that belt and maintain its stability, right? That's again, it's not going to cup, and it's going to remain stable and operate. you know, I got a great opportunity to spend a lot of time out west. I'm a flatlander, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm always learning, and I got a great opportunity to talk to an awful lot. Some of them are YouTuber guys. When I was out west, I don't really have a desire because I don't have the skill set, you know, to ride in the mountains, and I certainly don't have the shoveling skills to get myself out of it when I get stuck. But talking, you know, with those folks out there, and you know, overwhelmingly, and it was very humbling to hear it from them. You know, they talk very highly of our product and how well it's been performing for them. Not everybody, but again, the good majority of them really do use our belt and see it as a great performer. And keep in mind, you know, where these guys go, if they break down up there, there's stuff up there that sees you as a food source. So you don't want to be stuck up there too long.
It's almost like riding around Pete's place, you know.
Yeah.
The redneck ski is a food source. Corey Brock wants to know, is there any way of removing the glaze?
Yeah, certainly. Again, Corey, take a Scotch-Brite pad, yellow, blue, and just very lightly, you know, you're just going to remove it. You don't have to be going crazy. You just want to try to deglaze that belt on both sides, okay? Blow it off, wash it if you like. You don't have to, and then reinstall it. But before you do that, remember now, you've got glazing on the belt. You have to think about the aluminum, and you got to make sure that you tend to that aluminum, to the sheaves. You know, clean those off as well. You know, because the only way a belt cools down is how it interfaces to the sheaves. That's why in the secondary, more than ever, they got these huge cooling fins on the secondary to act as a heat sink. And, you know, a lot of people say to me, well, gosh, why don't the manufacturers or myself put this, you know, do the redneck NASCAR deal and put a great big, you know, tube and vent and get air going onto the belt? Well, this belt, you got snow dust, you got moisture when you're riding on a snowmobile, especially if you're following people. These belts not play nice to being wet under operation, right? So our biggest challenge is figuring a way, you know, to make sure that we get air movement in that area, but it's void of certainly snow dust. And then when it comes to ATVs, UTVs, more importantly, you know, dirt and contamination, because dirt and contamination will act like a file real quick, not only on the belt, but on the metal sheaves, right? So that's the best way to clean them.
Great. Good points there.
Yeah.
I have another question popped in my head. Yeah, these guys are smart. I tell all my guests, I've got some smart cookies in the chat here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, was there anything else that Corey Jink says he needs a ski more than a belt? Can you use acetone on the sheaves and a Scotch pad, or is that still too aggressive?
I would just make sure that if you do, you again clean off those sheaves, that there's no residue of acetone. And certainly if you're going to use that stuff, wear some skin protection for sure. Really, you know, just a Scotch-Brite pad with no medium, no liquid whatsoever is going to do the trick. It just makes sure that the dust and debris that you've created, you know, that is sitting down on the shaft and certainly on the secondary, get it out of there. You know, get some eye protection on, get some air and blow it all out of there, kind of thing, and you're good to go.
Right on. Hey, listen, do you want to check out some fan photos, and then we'll get into more questions and talk more about your products? And you sent some pictures on there as well.
Yeah.
You didn't do your thing. You didn't go through the chat and see who was in here. We were too quick. We were too quick today talking.
Yeah, well,
talking belts.
Let's go see who's in the chat here. Wisco was first in the chat, and LaPointe Ski 800R, Nathan M, Denon Oosterman, Corey Brock, Sled Tube, he's a newer guy, All Terrain TV, Rob Overholt. Lots of good questions we covered already. Tim V, hello Tim. Sled Tube Rednecks and Dirty Hands. Love that guy. I think I know who he is.
It's all about the angle of the dangle.
Yeah, that's what he said about your angle of the belt. Joel Aikner, Bobby O, 1967 GT, Jacob Massart, Nathan M, Denon Oosterman, I think I said already. It goes on and on and on. What else?
Bobby O,
I said that one, I think.
Bam Customs.
Mark Godfrey, he's that's about what we were talking about. Why buy the Goodyears on the Ram, and he puts the sheep emoji on there. Jimmy Asaf, Nick Haynes, Gord McDonald. We even had outdoor hobby guys in there. Outdoor hobby guy sent you a message by Instagram, but you and Corey should strike up a chat tonight if you're still listening. Mark Bo Outdoors, he's in there. Whitetail Stables. Oh, geez, it goes on and on and on. I think I got them all.
Oh,
Mike Mashkela.
I know that guy.
You do? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's Mike. 850 XCR 136. It goes on and on. I'm scrolling through a bunch here. Jarrett White. Thank you, everybody, for popping in. It's been great numbers tonight, too. And, yeah, keep the chat going. Keep the questions coming. And away we go. So I'm going to run the little commercial here for Fast Track. And we'll get right to the fan photos, and we'll keep this chat going. And away we go.
Yeah, you missed DP Rocks, Bobby.
DP Rocks,
sitting next to you.
He's sitting right next to me. So anyway, he's just being snarky in the chats.
Keeping everybody in line.
Fan photos are brought to you by Fast Track Snowmobile Traction. This season, quit sliding sideways on the ice and losing races to your buddies. A Fast Track stud kit will help you with improved braking and give you the arm-ripping acceleration you crave. I put over 3,000 clicks last season on my Renegade 850, and I'll tell you, these studs exceeded my expectations. Not one broken stud, my idler wheels still look like new, and they hooked up like I was on rails in the twisties, inspiring confidence every ride. Fast Track Top Gun kits are the highest rated stud kit at 4.9 stars with over 230 reviews. The studs are heat treated stainless so they are strong and they don't rust. The kit is lighter, easier on the track, and has a lifetime warranty against breaking. Each kit comes with a track-specific template for complete balance with over double the scratch lines from stock templates. All listeners, when purchasing a stud kit, can get a free install kit, a $30 value. Visit fasttrack.co, add both products to the cart, and use the coupon code SNOW at the checkout. That's fasttrac.co.
Right on. Just pop this up here. Drew's having a celebratory beer. Lodge Sessions, thank you, everybody, for the T-shirt orders. We're putting those into production tomorrow. It's going to be an epic ride. We're going to talk about this because everybody's getting bummed about the weather, and I'm trying to be the only hopeful guy here for you. So this was Denon sent this to Corey, who sent it to me, who sent it to my neighbor, who sent it back to me. My brother and I just got our way back from a couple of days riding around Sportsman's Lodge. It was so nice to have the trails all to ourselves. The only sled we saw were local ice fishers. Better than expected trails, considered they're listed as yellow on the interactive trail guide. So it's lots of cold weather coming up. There's a few days with snow, minus 13, minus 15 at night in the 14-day. And I'm hopeful that the weekend we're there, we are going to get blessed with a nice dumping of snow.
Which we did last year. Don't forget, for the 29, I think we had 20 people show up Thursday night into Friday. We got that freak dusting of snow. I think it's in the video from the first day. We get up, we get out, and I'm going fresh pow day. But honestly, you know, other than my unit, everybody was nice and cool. Everybody had a good time, and you know, even if the snow is bad, you get to come back and drink beers and MUDBRATS. So is that really a bad thing?
We found the more on the Thursday we drank beer, the
better the trails were getting.
Snowed, and then we had good snow to ride the next day.
Yeah, our morals were improving as the night went on. Yeah,
but it's interesting because Sudbury's getting the big dumping this year, and they've got more snow than Cochrane. What was that you showed me yesterday?
We can bring that up, the FCMQ stuff.
Yeah.
When I found that on the app. Yeah.
We'll have to find that. So anyway, Drew and I got out for a ride here, and what was this?
So this was
Tuesday after the show last week.
So Tuesday we figured it's the last day to get out and ride these Southern Ontario local trails, as local as we could get with the warm up coming through in the rain. So We took the day off work, loaded up, and went just to Plattsville, pretty local to us, and then we rode to the Homestead Resort, and in true MUDBRATS fashion, never plan anything. Homestead's closed Mondays and Tuesdays, so then we rode to a gas station, got some fuel, and got Subway instead. But it was good. We did 375 kilometers. There was no complaints that day. Everything was really good. We had no technical errors as we usually do.
No.
It was a great ride. Yeah, we did good average. And then we left, and it was snowing so hard you couldn't see. And on the way back, it was raining so hard you couldn't see. So we really did get that last full day of riding in. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time. So you can click through there.
Yes, there's another angle. This was just outside Durham. I can't remember. I think this was just outside Durham, though. And there's just one at night that I thought I'd take. You can see the signal lights, which, again, I like to make a point that in our days on both, Friday for the 2 kilometers I did, Sunday and Tuesday, we are still the only people that I have seen with
Nunzio, BRP
official BRP ones. We're the only people that have these, so which is really surprising. Now, this is a little project that he worked on these past few days.
Corey Brock hooked me up with these lights, sent me the link on Amazon.
So we can finally stop hitting our helmets on the roof and putting cracks in our oxygen helmets.
And now I just got to address that the crying walls problem we got there, which I got a solution for that too. So, yeah. But there we go. And Jinxie Boy sent me this. Pay attention to the spelling, folks. There's going to be a test after this. What's he say there? He says 2 picks in Bancroft, and the other is near Conestoga Lake.
Oh, that's right where we were,
Conestoga
too.
Lakes. This is Bancroft.
Hey, we got a picture at that lookout spot too. Yeah, we did 2 days at that same spot. Got photos.
Yeah, we got the drone work there, and this must be near Conestoga Lake. It's almost like being in Muskoka. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so Jinxie Boy, why doesn't it come up there? And we got Jinxie Boy, and then we got Jinxie Boy. So he caught it. He's laughing out loud. And then Greg Kelly sent me this. Says, Gary, I thought I'd send you a photo of the white stuff if needed. Might cheer up Ghoulies. He must have been talking to Ghoulies. I was out with the lads fishing and popping caps a couple weeks ago. There's another expedition, but his wife called. Gary, I'm reading the Go Snowmobile app right. It was all red. El Nino is certainly making it difficult on us. Greg Kelly.
It's okay. Be patient. It's going to be late season. Last year, when we got up on Thursday to go to Sudbury for lodge sessions, everything pretty much north, everything south, I'm going to say of maybe Temiskaming at best, was all red. And then the trails went green and yellow the next morning. So
yeah, we were blessed. Masser says low, no snow. Enjoying the last few miles before the big warm-up. We were having over 600 miles on the big one and a few on the sled in the van. Wisco got a van so he can fill it with all the kids in it. That's Corey Box. Yep. Yeah, and there's Wisco's new haul in the sled. So he says, Wisco says, Gary, you better read all of this on the pod tomorrow. Well, another garbage weekend with no snow in sight. Can't ride anywhere around Wisconsin. It's depressing. Anyways, Master and I finally fixed up my dad's $150 73 Cheetah, did a Mikuni carb swap on it, and even had throttle off a 98 Skidoo on it. Hacked it together, but it looks factory. Now, not only have we found a 73 Cheetah fits in the back of a minivan, and run. Only was I getting any miles on this weekend, was going through pics and found myself with my dad's 80, there's Master, his 88 Arctic Cat Cougar. So did he buy one of these? Figured I should scroll Market Face to place to find the sled. Well, 12 hours later, brought one home. Needs a top end. Otherwise, it's in perfect shape. $175 US dollars. Can't beat that. And even better, no recalls on the skis. Wife might kill me now. Up to 5 sleds. Hope to live long enough to make it to lodge sessions. That's pretty sweet. And there's Wisco last weekend on it, right?
Look at how much snow there is in that picture. Everyone's saying there used to be more snow.
Yeah, that's right. There isn't. That's pretty cool. The shocks are on the outside of the tunnel, just like they used to do on some of the old Dews. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
I see that. Yeah.
Doesn't look much difference than the old Indy 500 sitting there, does it? Yeah. Good haul there. You know, I texted Wisco back this weekend, and I've been kind of getting the bug and looking at old sleds, and they're all ridiculous price here in Canada. A roller like 67 Olympic with no engine, doesn't run, and like beat the snot, no seat, is like $850, which is just insane. So there's Masser getting the sleds ready.
We just value a good quality product more than they do in the States.
Yeah. And then Corey says, hey, Gary, here's a few pics of what started out to be a decent winter locally. Wife's sled is a 22 MXZ 600 EFI with custom MUDBRATS decal kit. And
guy sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, the 2023 Gen 5 XRS 850 with a custom MUDBRATS decal kit. First 3 pics are Shannon and I on a trip to Halliburton Forest, and the last few pics were a trip to the Homestead Restaurant in Durham. Looking forward to Quebec this weekend. We are too. I'm excited and can't wait to rip. Cheers. Keep up the great work. This is the longest I think Corey and I have ridden without riding with each other. So it's going to be pretty crazy when we finally
really weren't you like 53 when you guys met? Or
no, I mean in consecutive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, these are
yeah, there's that what he was talking about with the custom decals.
Yeah, that's cool. That looks really good.
It's look good.
Yeah, we're working on the tunnel right now, so we're gonna get that done for him.
Heck yeah.
But classic shots.
So I guess they went to the Homestead on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because when we pulled up, it definitely didn't look like that. We were like, oh, we're the only ones here. Oh.
There wasn't anything there.
Crap.
It was kind of so we went to Subway. So we saved a bunch of money, you know, because we didn't have
Did we really though? Because it was like I got like a Mountain Dew and a 6-inch meatball, and I spent like $11. I don't really think I saved money. I would have much rather a Homestead lunch.
Now this is your show now, Mike.
Yeah, this is sort of giving people, because I get a lot of questions, you know, Carlisle, Dayco, you know, that kind of stuff. Really, the biggest takeaway from what you're seeing here is that we, you know, Timken started building belts in 1959, snowmobile belts. So I was 1 year old when that happened, and then came to Max in '76. Then Ultimax, that brand, was born in 1988, and in 2001, you know, Carlisle ended up buying Dayco, and then in 2015. We bought Carlisle, and now it's born, you know, Timken Belts kind of thing. So that kind of gives people sort of a little bit of a visual of what's going on there kind of thing. So, you know, we've been around, and the plant in Springfield was born in 1959. So that's kind of what that's speaking of.
So, and then what happened with Dayco now that they run as their own brand?
Yeah, Dayco is their own brand. Not completely sure, you know, that much about what Dayco's kind of up to. You know, I don't know if they're owned by private equity or where they stand right now, but certainly, you know, Timken purchased Carlisle in 2015. Timken is a 125-year-old company. You know, most famously known, obviously, for bearings. We have two entities. We've got our engineered bearing group, and then we, Ultimax in particular, fall into their industrial motion group. And Timken, you know, is all about you know, engineered solutions, and really that's what we work towards, is finding solutions, and in this case, you know, making a pretty expensive investment that much better, and that's really what we're all about.
Yeah, Corey Jinks says that he's got that Sam Squanch Decnal on his fridge, and Mike Michella says that cools your fridge an extra 4 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, you can see the Yeti in the background there. He's on the trailer, that kind of stuff, and Yeah, we have Mike really to thank for that guy showing up. You know, he's riding a belt, in case you didn't know, and kind of got that handlebar pod. You know, that's kind of how I envision sort of Pete, a redneck driving a sled at 100 and what do you do, 140 miles an hour or something.
Miles an hour. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of looks shockingly like Billy, actually, his buddy. I don't know.
Jim,
I gotta do some house cleaning here. Jarrett White, he's a mountain madman. And he says, get you and Corey a cold one in Quebec. Keep up the great videos. Enjoy the trip. Thank you so much, Jarrett. That's awesome. Love it. Really appreciate that super chat. Hopefully you heard the sound effect there. We didn't hear it on this end.
I heard it.
All right.
Okay, so it went through.
Perfect.
That's why I was sitting here in silence.
Yeah, no, you usually don't hear it when it's working like that. So yeah, for sure. Corey says that's awesome. Thanks, Jarrett. That's great. Corey's not going to know about that one. We're going to kind of forget about that. Here's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. So you can really see it there in the top image, you know, about the pitch, how far apart those cogs are in relation to our previous design. So, you know, this is a rolling change. Pretty well, you know, the most popular belts out there, like the 821s, the 801s, 825s, those kind. The old design, and not that, you know, it's terribly wrong with the old design, but the new design is out there and the most popular stuff, and that's going to go right across our XS platform as we continue to move throughout this season.
Nice. Like I said, it fit with mine with no deflection adjustments, so they must have did something different. And you can see this image in the real belt. You can see that corner trim is chamfered off there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really why, you know, I just wanted to bring this up and show your viewership out there exactly that, you know. So again, let's not get hung up on measuring that top width and saying, hey, it's, you know, it's different than what I've normally seen. Okay, so you can see by that image, if you know you project that out, that's really what would end up happening there. And as I mentioned, it's cord line down is where the rubber meets the road. Okay.
Yeah.
Cord line up is your cross-sectional strength. And that's really where we differentiate ourselves and where we can get guys even into the 1,000 horsepower, you know, putting an off-the-shelf Ultimax belt on their machine. And now they're not going to get oodles of kilometers on it, but the good folks down at Hypersports have been really busy, you know, testing our belts, and they are absolutely elated with the results that they're getting with our product. And most of your viewership would know the kind of horsepower that those machines are putting to the ground. So,
yeah, it was kind of cool last week to have Maxceleration Racing on, and just someone asked in the chat what belt he runs, and it was Ultimax, right? And it's high horsepower, and whole shot's important for him. If this was to ever blow, like I had an OEM belt blow on my 800, and it's a video called, I forget what it's called, but it's me going, oh no, in the thumbnail from a few years ago. And it blew apart and made a mess. Like it basically snapped the nut off the top gear, broke the chain case, like it sent a shock right through the shaft. Did these blow any more dangerous or less dangerous than, say, an OEM or other belts?
No, really, again, it comes back to just really doing pretty easy fundamental inspections of the entire CVT, and in particular, you know, take that belt off, have a look at that belt, because, you know, here it is, right? Here's what is pretty typical of what we see happen. All right.
Yeah.
I've kept this belt because this has so many different things. Thank you, Ernie, by the way, and Ernie knows who Ernie is. This one has examples of all kinds of things happening: snub breaks, delamination, top edge tear out, the whole 9 yards. But it comes back to this. Very simple, guys. Take this belt. When you're doing your regular maintenance, again, look for that cupping. All right. If this belt, to the naked eye, you can see cupping on it, I highly, highly recommend you use it as a spare or replace it before this happens, or worse, because there's guys where even the crankshaft has snapped in half. All right. You don't want to get to that stage. And so many people, and it surprises me, and I don't mean any disrespect. I've known this for years and years and years about, cupping. So watch it. And there's no, with all the complexities and where you ride these machines and so forth and so on and everything, you can't say definitively. And I love hearing stories, and I hear from people all the time, and I really enjoy it. Today was a wonderful day hearing from a number of folks, just listening to their stories and things of that nature. It's all over the spectrum in terms of how much mileage you're going to get out of one of these belts. But keep that in mind now and make it a regular cadence to simply take this belt off, and you can see how nice and straight this is. I apologize. I do have an example of a cupped belt, but I seem to I think Muskello, along with always stealing my readers, he must have took it, and that's where I'm going to stay with that. But watch for that cupping. All right.
Yeah.
Don't let it happen that way.
No bullshit says we're not aerospace engineers who can inspect the sheaths and belt every outing. You're not asking people to do that.
Not at all.
Once you have it set up, and there was another question a while ago that I starred, but I didn't go back to it yet. But when should you be replacing your belt, and how do you know?
Well, so there again, as I mentioned, it's extremely, extremely difficult to sort of give a definitive answer to that. Certainly regular inspection. And so let's just say now you're the type of guy, you've got an 850 or a thumper turbo or one of the new 850 two-stroke turbos, and you've put power adders to it, clutching and all the rest of that kind of stuff. Those are the kind of guys certainly that are more hedging towards the aerospace kind of guys, because they certainly should know an awful lot about their equipment. And from my perspective, about every 300 kilometers, you need to be, and it's not that difficult to remove a belt and just take a quick peek at it. It really isn't, guys. And certainly you can put that belt right back on, and not, if the deflection was fine, you don't disturb any of that on how you take the belt off and have a look at it, kind of thing. But if you're a just an adventurer type guy who's out there riding, obeying the speed limit, doing all those kind of things, gosh, you could be every 1,000 kilometers kind of thing. But you'll sort of get an idea and a feel for that. For example, that 650 that's in the background there, it's got about 4,000 kilometers on it, and it has the original XS80, not the original OEM belt. That went off before it left Todd Equipment, I think. But it's got about 4,000 kilometers on that XS801. And we let customers drive that. It's got triggers in it and the whole deal. It's not been babied whatsoever, especially when a Skella gets behind the throttle of that thing. Yes, you wouldn't go. And Mike will attest to it, and others will. I'm regularly looking at it and looking for cupping and so forth. Now, admittedly, along the line, there may be a few hundred kilometers or so where I'm putting a different testing belts on it and whatnot. But by and large, it's got about 4,000 kilometers on it, kind of thing. So difficult question to answer. Talk to your buddies, gauge it for yourself, see how it goes. I also know there's folks that have called me and said, Mike, I've got 10,000 kilometers on an Ultimax belt. And I'm like, that's fantastic. It's amazing. And as people who know me know, the first question I typically ask anybody that I encounter either at shows, and I love going to them and that kind of stuff, where they call me up, is, what are you riding and where do you ride? That kind of stuff. And have those kind of stories and whatnot. And even those folks that are running those kind of kilometers on their machine or miles, they are doing a regular cadence of inspection kind of thing.
Yeah.
I hope it helps.
Rob, do you know Rob the oil guy, Rob Hilditch? Rob the oil guy, Amsoil? You must know
I
him.
don't. I might.
Rob, next time you're at a show, go meet Mike Ashby and vice versa. Rob says you just need to replace it just before it breaks.
Yeah. it's kind of I think Pete and I have talked about this before. It's kind of when you're torquing a bolt, you know what I mean? Torque till it breaks and then back it off, half a turn, and you're perfect. So yeah, but as I mentioned, there are telltale signs of when you're getting down the path of saying, hey, you know what, I better get this belt off.
Yeah. Greg Kelly, you remember he was in the chat earlier. He had to go for a family emergency. Guess I missed the important stuff, Gary. Did you get a promo code yet? Well, I'll tell you something, Greg. That. Greg's coming to lodge sessions on Labor Day, on Family Day weekend. I mean, we're giving away 3 Ultimax belts. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Mike. Other Mike.
Mike, yeah.
And it's not just Skidoo. We're gonna have a voucher, and as soon as you win the belt, you just send. You're gonna give Mike this voucher. We'll tell you how to get it to him real quick, instantly. Almost from the show, Mike will get you a belt out ASAP. So thank you for that, man. That's greatly appreciated. That's a huge plus. We got lots of decnals. So if you want to take home the Sam Squanch to put on your beer fridge, we got it. Or back of your trailer, we got stacks of decnals. Maxceleration Racing sent me toques. We got toques from Koala Pieces. We got stickers coming out of her yin yang.
I can sell you my stock belt once I put that Ultimax on if you really want it.
We can actually have a stock belt, a dew belt, and an Ultimax package. So we'll have 4. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. No, I really appreciate that, Mike. That was very generous of you.
You're welcome. Just a shout out to Quality Pieces. I mean, I have been running their scratchers for many, many years. A lot of friends that I ride with, and some people that I've just kind of met on the trail and said, hey, you're running Quality Pieces. They're great and everything else. They're unbelievably long lasting. They don't twist or anything because of the way they mount and so forth. And they really do the job. I run with scratchers down pretty well all the time, period. No matter what the snow conditions are.
Game changer. We were pretty... we never ran scratchers, and then we threw a set on after he did the podcast with them on my 18 last year before our last ride. Low snow conditions in March. Yeah. And everybody else, his especially was overheating. Everybody else were high temps, and mine was perfect. And my skid was full of snow, and everybody else's were bone dry. And after that, it's like, yep, every future sled from now on is getting a set of scratchers on it.
I always thought I run sleds. I don't need scratchers.
No, you need scratchers. You'll be surprised.
The cool thing too with Quality Pieces, I mean, you can go backwards with all the confidence in the world with those scratchers down. They're just amazing.
We backed him in and out of the trailer by accident with them down. Nothing's happened. And when my scratchers were down, when I had, so his was a studded ripsaw, and mine was a 1.6 Ice Cobra, and it was staying cooler. So that just shows me, because I thought that track, I was like, I'm screwed this last ride on an Ice Cobra. So
Sled 519's son is a little ripper, and he races. He was at Lindsay on the weekend for Snowcross, where you're sitting right now. Mike wants to know, Sled 519 wants to know Ultimax belts for 200cc sleds.
Yep. It's MAX 1136 is the part number, and absolutely.
Right on. And will that make them dangle?
We make belts back to for applications back to 1962. right up to the present day. But yeah, we make them for the 200. I really enjoy watching those. I mean, they're our future, aren't they, in terms of the sport itself and racing. And I really enjoy, watching those guys go around, and the intensity and the good fellowship they have too. They learn etiquette on the track, and but they're still racing. So really, really cool. My hat's off to those that can give those resources to their sons or daughters, to give them that opportunity to be in this sport.
Yeah. Throw an Ultimax on there. She'll dangle like to the number one. You got it. Yeah. No, actually, just going back to something you said just not long ago is that I said it in the video. I said it in every video I do about belts. There's another one I did belts off for cancer a couple of years ago. And everybody should go out in their shop or their trailer or their garage and take their belt off and put it back on, or replace it with an Ultimax or whatever brand of choice you want. But the fact is, you want to be prepared. So if something does happen to you or your buddy on the trail, you can do it in the cold, dark, anything else. So that's the key with that, right?
And if you have a Gen 4 or Gen 5 850, you're just going to want to practice taking the belt cover on and off, because that
itself.
First time it was like taking it off, it felt like I was breaking it, and putting it back on, it was like, how was this even in here in the first place?
You almost need a doctorate in engineering, but expect the unexpected.
Ironic.
This. A belt fails on you, and you're out there, and you're alone. You need to. It's absolutely good advice to practice that, and certainly practice getting the cover on and off.
So you did say you made belts for vintage sleds. Do you make them like Corey's talking about one cylinder, one lunger vintage sleds?
Yeah.
He mentioned a Nutcracker race, probably joking about it, but like, do you have stuff for 70s sleds?
Yeah. Yeah, I go when I'm at the shows, and I try to make time, to take a breather. I really enjoy being in the booth, but walk around, and I like going over to where the vintage guys are and talking to them and so on. And yeah, we do. And even the weird makes, Kawasaki, whatever they happen to be, although we don't list them, on our belt finder, get a hold of us, on ultimaxbelts.com, which I encourage anybody to go on that website, because as Gord McDonald found out today, there is just a wealth of information on there, but certainly there's a contact us. So if you've got something, that you don't see on our belt finder, contact us. I've worked with, Jeff Steenbacher, and I, he bought this crazy machine that he's decided to try some oval racing at the Bonnechere Cup. And, we found a belt for it, and we had it.
Right on.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So was this on the weekend?
No, this was last season. This was at the end of the season up at Horseshoe. There's a really good looking guy there dressed in the black kind of thing. And I was presenting, the Ultimax championship trophy and cup and so on to I believe that was Jake Weir. Typically, like, I'm at all the races, or try to be, and I've been to all of them last year. I'm going to certainly make every effort to be at every one of them this year. I don't do all the podiums. I just wait till the final, championship weekend, and then but we've got we sponsor that entire series. Ken Van and we've become friends. A great guy, tremendous racing. These young men and women, I really enjoy watching them every weekend and interacting with them and their race teams and the moms and dads and so forth. Just a great group of people, you know what I mean? So we're very, very proud to be a part of the CSRA for sure.
We need that trophy for lodge sessions for our poker run. If it goes missing next week, you don't know where it went. All right.
Well, why don't we make maybe this thing the trophy, or we'll get a Yeti or something like that, and
Nice.
or they can have the absenteeism Mike from Ultimax trophy or something like that.
Oh, you don't want to give away that hat.
I don't want to give that one away. No.
Yeah.
So that's a great shot for sure. It was a great day too.
Perfect. All Terrain TV says, how many different belt models do you make for the same sled? I got an HPX 5024 on my Rev 600 because that's what it had. But are there more options?
Well, we're application specific, and so on that Rev 600, that would be an XS 804, I believe it is. So that it would be designed specifically for your application, right, to match dimensionally what the OEM had designed there, and certainly far exceed the performance of the expectations of that engine for sure. But yeah, ours are all application specific. You would go on the belt finder, ultimaxbelts.com/belt finder. Mike will be very proud that I'm able to figure that one out. And just make, model, year, bing, and there you go. And then we have a where to buy also on that website, so you can find out where you can get that belt.
That's perfect.
Anywhere in North America, anywhere in the world.
Somebody was asking, it might have been Joel, but I'm not sure who it was that was asking earlier. I started, but we're so far down the chat now that I'd take me forever to find. The newer sleds coming out with belt drives, do you make belts for those instead of chain?
We do. That's on our industrial distribution side of the business. As time goes on, we could evolve that over onto the Ultimax side of the business. But yeah, we do. That would be our Panther XT.
Ooh, I like that name.
Yeah. And so that's a synchronous belt, or some people equate that to a timing belt kind of thing. And so, and people understand the advantages of running, the mountain guys have been doing that for a long time. The OEMs offer it on their mountain type sleds. Again, the challenge you have with some of those is particularly the aftermarket ones, they come with a reverse bend, so it's a little bit challenging. But yeah, we do make them.
Mm-hmm. Corey Jinx's comment, can you see it? And then your buddy Mike said that. It's named after you.
Yeah. I'm a Panther, all right.
Mike Michelle, I'm kind of upset because I haven't heard much Ashbyisms tonight. There's been a few. The baby spankings were my favorite.
Yeah, he's. This one here. So, this took place on the weekend, and what you're seeing here, obviously, that's a comp, right?
Is this Gord's garage? Is this Gord's?
No, this is a guy that should be well known. This is Corey Reed in Upper State New York. This is his facility there. That's Steve Roy's comp 850 there. It's got I think it's down about 35% break-in. I actually took that sled to Eagle River a few weeks ago. Mike Muscella got seat time on it. A bunch of people got, seat time on it. And so what's happening there is, and what you're seeing there is a 4 horsepower gain at the track between the OE belt, which is the 571, and all the playing field was level. So a 571 number of poles versus our XS 821, and you can see there, you can't see, or you might be able to see the RPM and so forth, but nonetheless, this wasn't a one and done deal. Through a tremendous amount of pulls, our belt consistently netted 4 more horsepower at the track. So those that are out there can understand a 4 horsepower gain at the track by simply firing on Mike's XS, sorry, first day with the new mouth, 821 without the hat on it.
Yeah.
That's what it did. Okay,
What does it do
so
with the hat on it, though?
What's it do with?
Yeah, even with the hat
Do I
on
get-
it. So that's real world right there.
Yeah. Well,
Do I
that's
get
the thing.
6
Look at the
horsepower?
gap that's right. Right here. That's the 4 horsepower is down behind me. You can't really see it.
It's really in your big end, eh?
You got a plus
Yeah.
4 horsepower at the track. Okay.
That's awesome.
Because you can see the track dynos hooked up to it and so on. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was just, Steve got a hold of me when this was happening, and I couldn't have been more ecstatic, happy. It's just absolutely amazing. So my hat is absolutely off to the folks down there in Springfield, our engineering team that are down there, and their efforts. This is definitely the results, and we're not done yet, folks. I mean, we are working absolutely every day to continue to move that needle in the right direction. But and I mean, there can be a debate, but in my opinion, this is, it doesn't lie. This is real world level playing field testing. Absolutely incredible.
That's pretty
I
cool.
cannot wait to get my butt back on that thing. It's back home now, that sled. Steve and I had that out just before we launched out of here in Fenland Falls at the Superior Propane, if anybody knows where that is. And, we headed north toward Halliburton. We had, Steve could correct me, I think it was 7 or 8 belts. And we kept, we had obviously another machine with us too, but we kept switching, doing things, and we couldn't stop high-fiving ourselves in terms of the results that were happening with this. It's amazing, actually. And it's all
cool.
to do with the efforts, as I mentioned, of our team down there in Springfield, Missouri.
Right on. The 96 horsepower, that was a questioning I was thinking of too.
It's at the track, though. You
That's at the
lose
track.
so much
That's at
in the
the track.
driveline on these things. It's
Yeah.
a 137 too. So
Typically, as a rule of thumb, and people can correct me, and I'm not a super expert on it, but typically in my experience, usually what you see, at the crank is typically divided in half at the track, roughly, right? Give or take.
That's about right. It's a 180 horsepower sled.
Right.
It's yeah, I got you.
Yeah. And
so
really, the way to test, the performance of a drive belt, obviously, is being able to measure it at the track for sure. Right.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So
is that a silver bullet?
It is.
Heck yeah.
Mike's going to give me this silver bullet for having.
Is that a
done
prize
the
at lodge sessions? No.
It is.
Does it come with the snowsuit? That's all we got to know.
And a helmet. Is that an oxygen helmet? You're getting a lot of oxygen.
Look at that full 180-degree field of view from that thing.
He's got a scarf tucked in so it doesn't get sucked in the carbs either, too.
So that's me, and that's the very first sled that I bought with my own money. It's a 1973 TNT Silver Bullet. It's a 294 with slide rail suspension. And back then, you had the option of bogey wheel or slide rail, and many people thought I was nuts going to this crazy thing called slide rail, on the track. And yeah, I wish I still had that machine. That's for sure. I don't, but I really enjoyed that machine. And yeah, I'm just in the backyard. Obviously, when I would go out riding, I had a brain bucket on. I didn't go out there with my toque on.
No, that's great. You wanted to post the ladies. Where did you grow up? Was it around here?
Yeah, I grew up actually in East End, Toronto, directly across from Ted Reeve Arena. That picture was taken at my parents' cottage up on Buckhorn Lake, just north of the Curve Lake Indian Reserve, actually. That's where my wife Sandy and I, my wife of just about 43 years now, we're really kicking ourselves that we didn't buy that cottage when mom and dad passed, but nonetheless, I had a lot of great times there. And those were the days, groom trails were they were coming on, but they weren't around. So you really just did ditch banging and that kind of. Hey, I played my AA hockey at Ted Reeve. I grew up on Osborne Avenue.
Yeah, Southwood and Kingston, maybe 500 meters away. There you go. Maybe you were the guy that bent Denon's finger backwards the other way.
That picture definitely.
Pete said that had to be a Coors new ad campaign. Good old Silver Bullet.
Yeah.
Driven by the Banana Man.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely brings back some really fond memories, that one there for sure.
That's cool.
So that's a year later. That's in 1974. That's me and my cousin Philip. And somebody in the chat might help me. I'm not sure if that's the Colt 250 or the TX 340. I don't think it's the TX 340.
We do know someone that would know that we have in a Facebook group. I don't know if he watches
those are
this,
Colts, though. The TX
I think it.
Lower. Yeah. Is that Denon's house right there? Is that the 500-meter house away?
Yeah, you can see his mom yelling at the idiots riding their snowmobiles on the road.
So they
invented the first can that lot.
Yeah. That picture, it was taken in Uxbridge, sorry. And actually, that farmhouse is on the property where Wooden Sticks resides, the golf course. That's.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, that obviously the building doesn't exist there anymore. But yeah, I think there. Somebody mentioned Colt 2 headlamps, and I think it has.
Yeah, it looks like it's got two. The ones.
Yeah, we were definitely heading to Timmy's again. Like my uncle had an awful lot of acreage, so we just kind of rode around his farm having a great time.
The TXs were lower too, and they had the free air sticking out of the hood. Very true.
Yeah, my uncle Ken, that's who that is, my mom's brother, he was a big Polaris guy, throughout all the years. Definitely. Everything was Polaris.
Uncle Buck knows. Look at
he would know.
Profile picture. He's got a rup in his profile picture. He is definitely Colts.
Those Colts don't dangle from Bobby O. Maybe if you get an Ultimax belt on it, you can go on the belt finder. And find one.
You absolutely can. And so there he is. There's Gord right there. They don't
dangle, but this dangles.
Yeah, that dangles. That's for sure. And Gord said it so well on your program a few weeks ago. That thing did 175 miles an hour, and it did not. If memory serves me, it did not have a parachute on it when he did that run. So. That's again, it was just I've had so many great experiences recently, especially joining Timken. I was at Gord's garage, right? I was at his property, which is just amazing in itself. But again, I think Gord and I out yacked each other. We were there for a lot. Gord, you'll probably remember better than I, but we just hit it off, and we talked an awful lot. And, that's it right there. I believe it's an 816 he runs on that.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a firm believer in him.
ET's here.
So that's Rob Lowe. That's Rob Lowe. That's Rob Lowe. And the Ultimax sticker is actually on the side of the sled there, so you can't really see it. But that's you can see the time.
You're blocking the ET. That's an impressive time there. Look at the.
Isn't that crazy? 158 mile an hour.
What's the feet? How long was this?
That was 594 feet at 4.237 seconds. Right. Like we have a video. We have a video of him taking off that exact run from the start line, watching it go. And I played it for a number of VIPs at Timken. We have this kind of thing that we do, and we try to showcase some achievements and successes and solutions and things like that. And I featured that, and it's pretty impressive to be behind him when that thing took off. It was just amazing. At
Someone
60
pointed
feet.
it out. 60 foot, 1.106.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is definitely an 816 belt on that. And Rob is just again, we become friends. Here's another guy that, circumstances brought the two of us together. I think it was about 3 years ago now or so. We were at a Yamaha open house. I think it was Ernie, Rob, a bunch of them were there, and we got chatting, and it was kind of like, sort of like what Pete said about, hey, Ashby come up and said, here's the deal. And it was kind of like with Rob, here's the deal kind of thing. And that's what's evolved right there. And his son, Robbie, he, I think he's moving up now, the outlaw class, but he was running a 998 and equally as impressive results with it. And I think that was an 827 that Robbie was running. Ultimax.
Yeah, right.
Sorry,
Right
just
on.
one more stat I want to point out on this. Look at that reaction time as well.
This
Guy can drive. There was a comment. He can drive.
He can drive. He can drive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a comment on the video I did introducing the Ultimax on my sled and stuff. And the guy says, well, that's a good belt for a second belt to get you home. What do you say to that? OEM for the win, I believe, is how he started.
Brainwashed.
I don't mean any disrespect to that individual, but I disagree. And look, I get it. If that's what's working for him, and that's the way he feels, that's great. I'd love the opportunity not to get into a bash with the guy, but I'd just love to chat with the individual, not in an adversarial way at all, but just really, get a better understanding, why that individual thinks that way, and how he came to that kind of conclusion, because I don't feel the same way.
Do you think if you charge more, people would think they're better belts?
Well, it's interesting.
In all honesty, like, is it maybe the price point that's making them seem not as superior? I mean, Polaris and Dew and Cat can charge whatever they want for a belt. You're going to pay $400, right? Where if you're $250 for an Ultimax or whatever the price is, do you think there's some perception there?
I do, and so here will probably come an Ashbyism, not necessarily right away, but certainly coming back to my analogy that I use about conventional motor oil versus synthetic oil. Well, there's an anomaly when it comes to it, because conventional oil, we expect to pay more for synthetic motor oil, and we do. And the exact opposite is happening, in our space. And so here it comes, and Mike will probably roll his eyes. I lie awake at night wondering how we can sell an Ultimax belt for so little. I really do. The amount of technology, engineering, and materials that go into that belt, and this type of performance off the shelf. You're right. You're right. There could be a perception there that hey, it's less money. It can't be that good. But I say, congratulations to the smart consumer out there that's done their research and realizes, hey, man, this is a gift horse in the mouth. I'm buying a belt for in many cases way less than the OEM, far superior in performance, a 1-year warranty, and I hope somebody corrects me out there and I come across this individual. But in all of my years of being in this industry, I have never come across anybody that's gotten warranty on an OEM belt.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I'd love to meet that individual. I really would.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure. I like Jarrett's answer. I'd just say, let's line them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's another. I didn't send the picture, but there's another picture of Rob lined up with Jeremy. These two guys are, these are the fastest snowmobiles on the planet. These things, all right. These two guys are lined up and racing each other, and both of them are Ultimax driven, and these are again off the shelf belts, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I assume that these drag racers were running some special, they'd have to contact Ultimax and get some special belts. I did not think that they were just the same thing that you would just put on a normal SRX. That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm backing this product 110%.
Sled Tube says, I just bought the OEM 571 because of the lower RPM issue of the wool belts. Had I watched this show, I would have 100% bought an 821.
Well, I say, but Sled Tube, and again, I'm meaning absolutely no disrespect to you. I'm presuming, you have stock clutching on it. The fact of the matter is, one clicker up, and you would have a big grin factor. I'll guarantee that one clicker up on that previous design 821, and you'd be fine. Now, if you were able to get our new design, you'd be there's no challenge there. Now, having said all that, guys, look, there's a number of reasons why any belt will pull RPM down, especially on Skidoo. We talked about scratchers. If you have the program on older Skidoos, but on the newer ones, if you have the program to be able to bring up not just the bars, but the temperature of your engine, okay, and not in Celsius, bring it up in Fahrenheit. You guys know that once you get up to around 128 to 130 degrees F, by nature of the program that BRP has put in those sleds, it's going to pull RPM. Steve and I have done a number of tests, even just recently last week on the comp. That thing didn't like much over 122 degrees F operating temperature and belt temperature, but the belt, we could take way more than that. But over 122 degrees, it was pulling RPM. We got the thing cooled down a bit, and next thing you know, bang, we're back to 8,100. So I mentioned there's a lot of complexities. There's a lot of things going on. But if you're just relying on those bars, to try to figure out if it's running at the right temperature, you're probably not going to get, a clear picture of what's going on, right? So just be mindful of that.
I killed the camera. My bad.
It's gone to. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah,
sorry,
we're just trying to play around with it, but
whatever, it'll be fine.
No, that's cool. Buy a clutch alignment tool. It's a metal thingy. Use it. Buy tools, or don't buy an alignment tool. Waste your money. No tools? ? Is what Joel says.
So this is a snapshot of how busy and really this is absolute kudos to Mike Muscala in all of his efforts, especially since I've come on board, to get us involved in all of these different organizations and entities that you see on this screen. We're involved in one way or another, and certainly Team S4K Racing, Sledhead for Kids, we're very excited about that because those folks are doing some crazy things trying to set world records in order to send underprivileged children to camps where they otherwise, wouldn't experience that. And so both Mike and I are very proud about everybody. Everybody at Ultimax is very proud, to be a part of that. OFSC, we're heavily involved in those folks. We talked about CSRA, Sledorama, the snowmobile shows, Heydays, Eagle River, all of that kind of stuff has been just amazing. And we got this one up there, that blood type A character.
Yeah, I was just gonna,
And there are other YouTubers, that we're involved in, and I make cameo appearances either with the belt or the hat, and just the hat, or actually, myself being on there. But yeah,
You better not lose that hat in the bag this year, Dad.
Hopefully we'll get you on our show as an appearance one time.
Yeah, and I'd love to ride with you guys. It'd be just amazing. Try to keep up with you.
It'd be a lot of fun. Oh, it won't be a problem.
We ride slow. We just speed up all the footage.
So this picture speaks to what I talked about with the folks at Ultimax, and being motorheads, sled guys, and ATVers. The guy that's one of our buggies. We have two of those. The guy that's piloting that is the engineer that is solely responsible for the design and development of our Ultimax platform. Cool. He's an amazing guy, absolutely amazing guy. That's not Photoshop. That is him, and that is him off the ground. I believe that was either at Moab or San Hollow. I got a bucket list experience. I was down in San Hollow, spending several days ATVing and rock climbing and all that stuff. But that's him right there.
Yeah, that's wicked.
That's amazing.
Ron Kesselou says, this is a very informative session. Great choice, Gary. I can't take the credit. That was all Pete, Redneck and Dirty Hands, that actually hooked us up. And I just went on the chase afterwards to make sure he got on this show quickly. So
I really appreciate Pete, yourself, and everyone giving myself, and more importantly Ultimax this opportunity. It's just been amazing.
Yeah, no, it's our pleasure. Lapoinski 800 says, Greg, do you have a mattress for Mike for the lodge? They want you at lodge sessions in a couple of weeks, right? And Greg Kelly says they can make room for you for sure. So get your sled tuned up.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to.
We have room if you're available. We do have room if you're available on Family Day weekend.
Thursday through Monday.
Yeah, shoot me over the details, Gary, because
that would be a riot.
So send me an email, because it's very difficult for me. I can't even really remember what I ate for lunch. So I'd love to. That'd be
you and Pete. Pete says, haha, thanks, you're welcome, and you can bring him.
Oh, that'd be cool.
We got to get Rednecks and Dirty Hands there, and
yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Absolutely,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, so. I really enjoy riding for sure. I've had some that there. So that's at Eagle River.
Right on.
That's you can see it in the background. That's one of our event trailers. We got a few of them, and decked out inside. We're getting there, but right now, we've got some displays inside and so forth. It's sort of a process of ongoing improvement. We want to get like maybe a coffee maker in there and heat and stuff like that. But yeah, and that that was really kind of cool, because we are an American company, that being Timken and so forth. And here we get a picture with the the American flag. The Canadian flag is just off to the right. Unfortunately, we just didn't get it in that image there. But and that was on corner. I think it was corner 4, actually, of the track in Eagle River, position there. And again, this year back there, same spot. So pretty cool.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. Yep.
That's cool. Well, yeah, thanks for sending in all those pictures. That was awesome. And thank you all the fans that sent in the photos this week as well. A lot of good shots there, and it keeps it going. If anyone wants to be featured on the show, fanphoto@mudbrats.com, and we'll show your stories and pictures every week, But All Terrain says he'll have to check out the vintage races at Eagle River since nothing else is going on. He used to ride trails to the races, but probably not this year.
Yeah. No, it's good racing. Because they did postpone the vintage racing, because it initially was going to go first, but they couldn't do it. So the championship derby went on. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about the website. How else can people get a hold of Ultimax?
Gosh, I knew you were going to say that to me too. I would.
I'll tell you what the answer is. I put all the links in the description of this video. Actually,
yeah, that'd be great, because I
did
social at Ultimax. Yeah, there's definitely ways to get
they're in the description. So yeah, you can read them off, Drew.
So literally on every single platform, you got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and even Pinterest.
Are you on TikTok?
It's just Ultimax Belts, all one word together. No capitals, no weird stuff. Just Ultimax Belts.
There you go.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you for bailing me out of that one.
I did put the links in the description. I also put the links in for Energy Powersports and Fast Track Snowmobile traction products. And I thank everybody for your support. That's pretty awesome. You've been a great guest. Have you got anything else to tell our viewers? Did we cover everything off that you needed to talk about?
I think so. I mean, if any of your viewers have any more questions, and they were great questions, I really, again, appreciate you giving Ultimax the opportunity. For those of you out there that are, Ultimax purchasers and users, we truly appreciate your business. Those who, are doubtful, I'd be happy to talk and hear the reasons why. We're always learning. We're always wanting to hear, from our customers, that kind of stuff. We don't make presumptions. We rely heavily on your feedback, and we absolutely listen and action on it for sure.
Yeah, right on. No, it sounds like it's a very grassroots company. I mean, that you sound like you've got your thumb on the pulse. Talking to everybody at the events too is really cool. That you can answer, and from a real snowmobiler too. And I don't say that lightly, right? You actually are out there riding the product. It's pretty neat. But and thanks, Mike Michelle, for being in the chats and keeping that side of the things going. And everybody for tuning in. But I won't keep you any longer tonight. That was a great episode, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the trails.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
And thank you for the stuff for lodge sessions. We're going to be shouting you out for sure from that event.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
No problem. Thank you. Great show. Good weekend on your ride, boys. Stay safe. Mike is a great guy, and he did awesome on the show. Great show, gents. Mike Michella says, Throwing Sparks says, sharing good info is always a good thing. That's my whole point. If I can teach somebody something that they didn't know today, then that's great. Great show, Porters and Mike. And Rob the Oil Guy says, thanks. Got lots of good stuff going on. Cheers from Redneck Dirty Hands. That's awesome.
Fresh out.
And super informative show. Really appreciated. Thank you, Denon says. And Joel says scal, which means cheers. I had to actually Google that. And what do you do for the lodge? We'll fill you in on that there, Rob, and we'll get going. He's donated 3 belts for grand prizes, Rob, and a bunch of stickers he's already sent me. So we've got vouchers for the belts, and away we go. So Rob, if you want to do anything for us, just shoot me an email, and I'll make sure we get you on the dance card for this year as well.
Tickety boo, says LaPointe.
Yeah, tickety boo, says LaPointeski. That's pretty cool.
All right.
But yeah, we could be here all night just reading the post comments.
Yeah, they're great. They're absolutely great.
No, you did really good, buddy. If you want to hang around for a bit after we roll the credits, I'm just going to roll this and we'll end it off. Okay.
Okay. I'll hang out. For sure.
Cheers.
See you guys.
Fan photos are brought to you by Fast Track Snowmobile Traction. This season.
It's a journey for